Good afternoon. Today we'll be discussing about entrepreneurship and economic development. The objectives of today's session will try to understand concepts of economic development and entrepreneurship, the role of entrepreneurship in economic development. We'll try to explain the role and need for micro, small, and medium enterprises in the Indian economy. We were discussing about MSME in yesterday's session. We'll continue to discuss the role and need for micro, small in the Indian economy. We'll try to define and describe the characteristics of micro, small, and medium enterprises. We'll discuss the role of entrepreneurship in micro, small, and medium enterprises, identify the problem and support of micro, small, and medium enterprises. So, structure for today's session. As all of you know, there are several dynamic forces such as technological disruption, fluctuating economies, or demographical changes. These forces have brought new opportunities and threats for organizations and have transformed societies from all over the world. In order to cope with these shifting forces, governments, public and private organizations, and the public are more and more aware of the significance of entrepreneurship. The role of entrepreneurship in society has become prominent since the end of the last century. Entrepreneurship matters because it is, above all, a human characteristic. In modern open economies, it has become more important for economic growth and development than it has ever been. In the past decades, there has been a growing interest regarding the concepts of economic development and entrepreneurship. On the one hand, there are several studies in the literature related to these two important notions, entrepreneurship and economic development. Researchers have concluded that although economic development theory can still be argued to lack a general theory of entrepreneurship, one that could encompass a variety of development outcomes. Progress has been made in extending the notion and understanding of entrepreneurship in economic development. On the other hand, international organizations, governments, and policymakers have shown a greater attention to the function fulfilled by entrepreneurship in generating economic development. Economic experts have abandoned their traditional approach to economic development based mainly on recruiting large companies with different financial and fiscal inducements. Today, they are relying more on the small and medium enterprises and new ventures than in the past. We have earlier also defined entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is spreadingly recognized by government officials throughout the world, not only as a key mechanism for enhancing economic development, particularly in regions where entrepreneurial activity was once vibrant and is now lagging, but also as a good solution because it provides a relatively non-controversial way to increase the proverbial pie, creating jobs and enhancing per capita income growth. That is why entrepreneurs need access to resources and markets to succeed, and this is where national policies play a vital role. However, when it comes to know how the mechanism operates, little is known either on how entrepreneurship can be best promoted or on how entrepreneurship influences economic performance. Arising from the above discussion emerges one question: what is the relationship between economic development and entrepreneurship? That is what we will try to answer. So economic development is the process of structural transformation of an economy towards a modern, technologically advanced economy based on services and manufacturing. This process basically involves not only qualitative changes to the nature of an economy, but also accompanying quantitative changes in terms of the productivity and output per person. If these qualitative and quantitative changes result in unambiguous improvements in human welfare, it is generally seen as economic development. In both the qualitative as well as the quantitative dimensions of economic development, entrepreneurship could make a positive contribution to economic development. In the popular press, entrepreneurship is depicted as important for economic development, seen to create jobs, ease fiscal burden, and provides competition. There is no single definition of entrepreneurship that incorporates all the different features of economic development. Economic development can be described in terms of goals. For example, creation of jobs, improvement of the quality of life, or as a process that influences growth in order to enhance the economic well-being of a community or society. In this respect, economic development represents the process of structural transformation of an economy towards a modern, technologically advanced economy based on services and manufacturing. In other words, economic development refers to sustainable improvements in the material well-being of a society, as measured, for instance, by GDP per capita, GDP growth, productivity, and employment. In its broadest sense, economic development encompasses three major areas: policies that government undertake to meet broad economic objectives, including inflation control, high employment, and sustainable growth. Policies and programs to provide services, including building highways, managing parks, and providing medical access to the disadvantaged. Policies and programs explicitly directed at improving the business climate through specific efforts: business finance, marketing, neighborhood development, business retention and expansion, technology transfer, real estate development, and others. In conclusion, I can say economic development and entrepreneurship are both complex concepts. Also, they are related to each other. So, entrepreneurship has to do with individuals. We have seen that. People with their own traits and actions, that is their roles. Various roles of the entrepreneur can be distinguished in the business world. In order to express the connection between entrepreneurship and economic growth and development, two major roles of the entrepreneur can be singled out. The first has to do with new entry, and the second with newness in general. Firstly, the entrepreneur is the founder of a new business, someone who creates and then perhaps organizes and operates a new business firm, whether or not there is anything innovative in those acts. Secondly, the entrepreneur plays a more general innovative role in economic life. The entrepreneur as the innovator, as the one who transforms inventions and ideas into economically viable entities, whether or not in the course of doing so, they create or operate a firm. Thus, newness through startups and innovations are some of the most important factors linking entrepreneurship and economic development or economic growth. The new evolutionary theories supported by empirical evidence state, therefore, that entrepreneurship encourages economic growth for three reasons. The first reason, it stimulates competition by increasing the number of enterprises, while this increase in growth in itself is cumulative phenomena because competition is more conducive to knowledge externalities, that is new ideas, than is local monopoly. And so entrepreneurship encourages economic development through entrepreneurship. Second, it facilitates knowledge spillovers, that is transmission of knowledge from its point of origin to other individuals or organizations. Knowledge spillover is an important mechanism underlying endogenous growth and startups. In other words, entrepreneurs spot opportunities and innovate. Third reason is it generates diversity and variety among enterprises in any location. Each enterprise is in some way different or unique, and this influences economic growth. So the relationship between economic development and entrepreneurship has gained a growing interest in explaining economic performance from one historical period to another. Different views about the relationship between the stages of economic development and entrepreneurship have thus been expressed over time. In the earlier stages of economic development, the contribution of entrepreneurship is considered to be less important than in the later stages. Moreover, entrepreneurship can be productive, unproductive, or destructive in all stages, and consequently may affect economic development in a positive or negative manner. We'll see how it affects in a positive or in a negative manner. Entrepreneurship influences economic development. Firstly, the process of economic development is the overall unintended outcome of a complex of myriad individual acts of entrepreneurial discovery. It is needless to say that entrepreneurs can contribute to economic development by facilitating the reallocation of resources from less to more productive uses. As a development strategy in today's changing economic environment, entrepreneurship has become prominent, especially in the past decade, as practitioners recognize the limited number of firms relocating and the resulting competition for these businesses. Secondly, entrepreneurship is considered to be an important mechanism for economic development through employment, innovation, and welfare. Thirdly, entrepreneurship is essential to a growing economy in large part because its innovations create demand for new products and services that were not previously available. Therefore, we can say that government officials frequently search for mechanisms to enhance entrepreneurial activity in their regions, whether those mechanisms are tax policies, financing subsidies, or other tools. So this particular slide shows you the role of environment in entrepreneurship development. Entrepreneurship bring about economic growth and development, and the later, in turn, provides a fertile soil for the flourishing of entrepreneurship. There certainly is a mutually facilitating reciprocity between economic growth and entrepreneurship development. The relationship is shown here in this slide. Now, what are the positive role of entrepreneurship and on economic development? The first positive role of entrepreneurship on economic development is that investing in products and services, people need what motivates a person to start a new business. This is a question that needs to be answered. According to traditional models, entrepreneurs create new business in response to unmet needs and demands in the market. That is, there is an opportunity to provide a product or service that is not currently in existence or otherwise available. Economists refer to these business starters as opportunity entrepreneurs in order to distinguish these individuals from those who start business or lack of better work opportunities. So-called opportunity entrepreneurs who launch new enterprises in response to market needs are key players when it comes to fostering economic growth in a region. They enable access to goods and services that populations require in order to be productive. This is not to ignore necessity entrepreneurs that launch enterprises because they have no other options. Both can contribute to economic growth. The second positive role of entrepreneurship on economic development is that provides employment opportunities. New businesses need to hire employees. They create jobs, and these economic opportunities uplift and support communities through increasing the quality of life and overall standard of living. Third, uh, commerce and regional economic integration. Uh, Technology has made it possible for small entrepreneur-led businesses to expand into regional and global markets. When new business export goods and services to nearby regions, these enterprises contribute directly to a region's productivity and growth and earnings. This increase in revenue strengthens an economy and promotes the overall welfare of a population. Economies that trade with one another are almost always better off. Politics aside, engaging in regional and international trade promotes investment in regional transportation and infrastructure, which also strengthens economies. This has never been more true than it is today, as we live in an increasingly interconnected global economy. What exactly is innovation and how does it promote economic development? Under what conditions do entrepreneurs innovate? A widely accepted percentage of high-tech jobs and the size of the talent pool available to tech industry employers. More recently and increasingly, our definition of innovation has expanded to include the development of new service offerings, business models, pricing plans, and routes to market. While the role that startups and young technological companies play in job creation is well documented, their contribution to overall productivity is less intuitive and not discussed as often. To better understand how innovation contributes to economic development, new technologies promote efficiency. How? The ability to turn ideas into new products and services that people need is the fountain of prosperity for many developed countries. Economic growth, generally speaking, is driven by new technologies and their creative application. This is a point to be noted. Periods of rapid innovation historically have been accompanied by periods of strong economic growth. The impetus of innovation is the greatest natural resource of all, the human mind. Creating innovative products and service solutions requires an educated population and an environment where collaborative work can take place. In addition to being good for business, education increases workforce creativity and quality of life. The next positive role of entrepreneurship on economic development is smartly addressing environmental challenges. Innovation is crucial when it comes to addressing the enormous environmental challenges we face today. Combating climate change, lowering global greenhouse gas emissions, and preserving biodiversity in the environment. Without power for extended periods of time, commerce comes to a halt. Without water, we cannot live. Reliable access to these innovations, such as irrigation technology, electricity, and urban infrastructure, increases productivity and enhances economic development. Innovation impacts socioeconomic objectives. How? Innovative business practices, they create efficiency and conserve resources. So innovation in agriculture is especially relevant for addressing socioeconomic challenges. In addition to encouraging economic growth. In the US, for instance, people's waste billion of dollars annually due to inefficiencies and uncompetitive practices in healthcare systems. Hopefully, new business ideas and innovations in the future will address this problem, resulting in further reforms. When this occurs, Americans' overall health and quality of life will benefit, and so will economy if their wasteful healthcare costs also decrease. Innovation happens where there is competition. This is another very important positive role that entrepreneurship plays on economic development. In essence, you'll see there is a positive feedback loop amongst innovation, entrepreneurship, and economic development. All these three are tied up. New and growing businesses represent the principal source of job creation and innovation activity in an economy. Two factors that generally result in the rising standards of living for all. However, it's important to understand that entrepreneurship and innovation are dependent on access and participation. For entrepreneurs to bring new ideas to life, they need access to education and a level playing field on which to compete. In this vein, the role of government leaders and public policy is to create conditions that allow more entrepreneurs to start business by implementing policies which nurture that environment so these businesses can grow. So economic growth suffers when entrepreneurial activity is unevenly spread socioeconomically, demographically, and geographically. Under the right conditions, entrepreneurs have an incredible power. They help regional areas prosper economically, and they also serve society as they help engineer innovative solutions to problems and challenges. So these are some of the positive role of entrepreneurship on economic development. Now let's discuss the negative role of entrepreneurship on economic development. One of the negative roles of entrepreneurship is that low quality entrepreneurs. The ability of an entrepreneur is difficult to observe ex ante, and as such, measures to facilitate the entry of entrepreneurs may also encourage entrepreneurs of low ability. DeMesa and Webb, in their study, show the credit market imperfects may lead to overinvestment and not underinvestment, as in the Stiglitz and Weiss study model, when ability and profits differs among entrepreneurs and accurately judge ability. In essence, high profit ability entrepreneurs subsidize low profit ability. According to Akash Ranjan, the role of entrepreneurship in economic development. Entrepreneurs. They argue that a tax on interest rate in such a case could improve social welfare. It builds on the study by DeMesa and Webb and shows that their conclusions are only likely to hold under special conditions, pointing out that entrepreneurial ability affects the success of a firm, which in turn matters for the probability of the entrepreneur repaying a loan. This is because banks cannot observe any entrepreneur's ability ex ante. Interest rate on startup capital will reflect average entrepreneurial ability. If the proportion of entrepreneurs of low ability increases, it will result in high borrowing costs, which impose a negatively externality on entrepreneurs of high ability, who will consequently borrow and invest less. A second channel through which the entry of entrepreneurs with low ability might hinder economic development is through the impact of entrepreneurial ability on the productivity of employed workers. Entrepreneurs of low ability will have less productive workers who will earn lower wages. By reducing wage costs, these entrepreneurs in effect lower the opportunity cost of entrepreneurship or self-employment and facilitate the entry of more low ability entrepreneurs. The second negative role of entrepreneurship is loss of confidence and direction. If one loses confidence and direction in its innovation efforts, it's really serious a case. If policymakers of a country know too little about vertical industries and make generic appeals to the innovation culture without using their power to shape innovation culture in verticals, it's really very worrisome. There is no real target more than the most general ones. For example, to be the most innovative region, to lead in the knowledge society. These cannot act as calls to action. For example, the United States assumes its inheritance of an innovative culture will see it adapt to the current structural changes in the world economy. It won't without policymakers setting a clear direction. The third negative role is the negative equity culture. Now, companies are currently being asked to innovate in non-innovative cultures, in industries where there is negative equity in innovation culture. That is why they are finding it difficult. To innovate in some areas of fast-moving consumer goods is almost a betrayal of ethics, for example, in food additives. This is what negative equity means. You can innovate, but the conditions are essentially negative. The entrepreneurship has a positive impact on economic development as it gears of capital formation, generates high employment, improves standard of living of the people of the nation, boosts of wealth creation and decentralized distribution of economic resources, increases GNP, the gross national product, and per capita income, promotes export trade, and facilitates overall development of the nation. Entrepreneurship will have negative or adverse impact on economic development in two conditions. Perverse allocation towards activities that are personally profitable but socially destructive or unproductive, and low quality entrepreneurship that may have negative externalities. Yesterday, we were discussing about entrepreneurship and government policies and the impact of those policies in on small businesses in India. So this is what we were discussing in yesterday's class. Before I can take you to the next part of the discussion, let me just what we discussed yesterday so that we can move on to the next part of this today's session. On the basis of the capital invested, small business units can be categorized into various categories, which include small-scale industry, ancillary small industrial units, export-oriented units, small-scale industries owned and managed by women entrepreneurs, tiny industrial units, small-scale services and business enterprises, micro-business enterprises, village industries, and cottage industries. The administrative setup for small-scale industry consists of two ministries. We have discussed yesterday, the Ministry of Small-Scale Industry and Ministry of Agricultural and Rural Industry, Government of India. The Ministry of SSIs is the nodal ministry for formulation of policy and coordination of central assistance for the promotion and development of SSIs in India. Similarly, the Ministry of Agro and Rural Industry is the nodal agency for coordination and development of village and khadi industries, tiny and micro enterprises in both urban and rural areas. State governments also execute different promotional development projected schemes to provide a number of supporting incentives for development and promotion of SSIs in their respective states. So we also discussed yesterday the role of small business in India. Small scale industries play a very important role in the socio-economic development of the country. These industries account for 95% of industrial unit, contributing up to 40% of the gross industrial value added and 45% of the total exports. SSIs are the second largest employers of human resources after agriculture and produce a variety of products for the economy. These units contribute to the balanced regional development of the country by using locally available material and indigenous technology. These provide ample scope for entrepreneurship, enjoy the advantage of low-cost production, quick decision-making, and have quick adaptability and are best suited to customized production. Role of business in rural India. Small business units basically provide multiple sources of income in a wide range of non-agricultural activities and provide employment opportunities in rural areas, especially for the traditionally working artisans and weaker sections of the society. We also yesterday discussed the problems of small industries. They suffer from various problems, including finance, non-availability of raw materials, managerial skills, skilled labor, marketing of their goods, maintaining quality standards, low capacity utilization, use of traditional technology, prevalence of sickness, and facing global competition. Now, governmental assistance is provided to small industries in view of the contribution of small business in various areas, including employment generation, balanced regional development, and promotion of the export. The central and state governments have been providing assistance in respect of infrastructure, finance, technology, training to SSI units. Some of the major institutions supporting include which support small industries include the National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development, NABARD, Rural Small Business Development Center, National Small Industries Corporation, Small Industries Development Bank of India, the National Commission for Enterprises in Unorganized Sector, Rural and Women Entrepreneurship Development, World Association for Small and Medium Enterprises, Scheme of Fund for Regeneration of Traditional Industries, and the District Industries Center. The various forms of support to small industries by the government is through institutional support in respect of credit facilities, provision of developed sites for construction of sets, provision of training facilities, supply of machinery on hire purchase terms, assistance for domestic and export marketing, technical and financial assistance for technological upgradation, plus special incentives for setting up enterprises in backward areas. So having summed up yesterday's discussion, let me now take you to the discussion on MSME and entrepreneurship. As all of you are aware from yesterday's discussion that MSMEs contribute significantly to the development process and acts as a vital link in the industrialization in terms of production, employment, and exports of economic prosperity by widening entrepreneurial base and use of local raw materials and indigenous skills. MSME dominate the industrial scenario in the country with sizable proportion of labor force and tremendous export potential. MSMEs play a significant role in the economic growth and contribute approximately 29.7% of GDP and 49.66% of exports. The sector offers employment to nearly 60 million people through 28.5 million enterprises after the agricultural sector. MSMEs are complementary to large industries as ancillary units and form an integral part of value chain for building a conducive environment for indigenous skills, grassroots innovations, and entrepreneurship development. Recognizing the potential of this sector for natural development, this segment of industry, the MSMEs, is encouraged in both in pre-reform and post-reform period for fulfilling the objective of self-reliance and rural industrialization. In India, the MSME consists of both traditional and modern small industries. This sector has 8 subgroups. They are handlooms, handicrafts, coir, sericulture, khadi, and village industries, small scale industries, and power looms. The khadi and village industries and coir segment is another major contributor to the growth of the MSME. Many global companies are increasingly looking into Indian MSMEs for strategic partnership of mutual benefits due to the innovative capabilities in niche of low cost manufacturing and local skills and capabilities. In India, MSMEs constitute an important and crucial segment of the industrial sector. MSMEs contribute a staggering 30% to the country's exports. Additionally, more than 11 crore people are employed in the MSME sector because of the unique economic and organizational characteristics. MSMEs play an important economic, social, and political role in employment creation, resource utilization, and economic generation. MSMEs are generally more labor intensive than large organizations. In India, the focus has been mainly on micro and small enterprises, and therefore policies and programs focus more to promote industry rather than the broader spectrum of enterprises. The MSME sector includes a very wide spectrum of enterprises in terms of their size, employment potential, technology use, and products. MSME sector includes a very wide spectrum of enterprises in terms of their size. It is important to know how size is defined in our country with reference to MSME establishments. Several parameters can be used to measure the size of business units. These include number of persons employed in business, capital invested in business, turnover of business, etc. The definition used by the Government of India to describe MSME is based on the investment in plant and machinery and turnover. This measure seeks to keep in view the socio-economic environment in India where capital is scarce and labor is abundant. This particular slide shows you the type of units, the investment in plant and machinery that happens, and the turnover that is expected, along with the percentage share of MSMEs in micro enterprises, small enterprises, and medium enterprises. So the emergence of a large service sector has necessitated the government to include other enterprises covering both SSI sector and related service entities under the same umbrella. Expansion of the small enterprises was taking place, growing into medium enterprises, and they were required to adopt higher levels of technologies in order to remain competitive in a fast globalizing world. Thus, it was necessary to address the concern of such enterprises as micro, small, and medium and provide them with a single legal framework. You also have village industries and cottage industries. Village industry has been defined as any industry located in a rural area which produces any goods, renders any service with or without the use of power, and in which the fixed capital investment per head or artisan or worker is specified by the central government from time to time. Cottage industry. Cottage industries are also known as rural industries or traditional industries. They are not defined by capital investment criteria, as in the case of other small scale industries. Now, what is the role of MSME? MSME in India enjoy a distinct position in view of their contribution to the socio-economic development of the country. The emphasis of MSME has always been an integral part of India's industrial strategy. Development of MSME prevents migration of rural population urban areas in search of employment and contributes to other socio-economic aspects such as the reduction in income inequalities, dispersed development of industries, and linkage with other sectors of the economy. In fact, promotion of MSME and rural industrialization has been considered by the Government of India as a powerful instrument for realizing the twin objectives of accelerated industrial growth and creating additional productive employment potential in rural and backward areas. The following points highlight the contribution made by MSMEs. The contribution of these industries to the balanced regional development of our country is noteworthy. Small industries in India account for 95% of the industrial units in the country. MSMEs are the second largest employers of human resources after agriculture. They generate more number of employment opportunities per unit of capital invested compared to large industries. They are therefore considered to be more labor intensive and less capital intensive. This is a boon for labor surplus country like India. MSME in our country supply an enormous variety of products which include mass consumption goods, ready-made garments, hosiery goods, stationery items, soaps and detergents, domestic utensils, leather, plastic and rubber goods, processed foods and vegetables, wood and steel furniture, paints, varnishes, safety matches, etc. Among the sophisticated items manufactured are electric and electronic goods like television, calculators, electromedical equipment, electronic teaching aids like overhead projectors, air conditioning equipment, drugs and pharmaceuticals, agricultural tools and equipment, and several other engineering products. A special mention should be made of handlooms, handicrafts, and other products for traditional village industries in view of their export value. MSME, which produce simple products using simple technologies and depend on locally available resources, both material and labor, can be set up anywhere in the country. Since they can be widely spread without any locational constraints, the benefits of industrialization can be reaped by every region. They thus contribute significantly to the balanced development of the country. These are some of the other reasons for the role played by MSMEs. MSMEs provide ample opportunity for entrepreneurship. MSME also enjoy the advantage of low cost of production. Due to the small size of organizations, quick and timely decisions can be taken without consulting many people, as it happens in large-sized organizations. New business opportunities can be captured at the right time. We'll be discussing about how you identify new ideas and opportunities in the next session. Now, there are various problems associated with MSMEs. The first major problem is of finance. One of the severe problems faced by MSMEs is that non-availability of finance, adequate finance to carry out its operations. Generally, these businesses or small units begin with a small capital base. Many of the units in the small sector lack the credit worthiness required to raise a capital from the capital markets. As a result, they heavily depend on local financial resources and are frequently the victims of exploitation by the money lenders. A raw material is another problem associated with MSMEs. The procurement of raw materials is a major problem. Required materials are not available. They have to compromise on the quality or have to pay a high price to get good quality materials. Managerial skill is another problem associated with MSME. These businesses are generally promoted and operated by a single person who may not possess all the managerial skills required to run the business. Marketing is another problem, is the most important activity as it generates revenue. Effective marketing of goods requires a thorough understanding of the customer needs and requirements. In most cases, marketing is a weaker area of small organizations. Quality is also another big problem with MSMEs. Many MSMEs do not adhere to the desired standards of quality. Instead, they concentrate on cutting costs and keeping the prices low, which has an adverse impact on the quality. Capacity utilization is another problem associated with MSMEs. Due to lack of marketing skills or lack of demand, many firms have to operate below capacity, due to which their operating costs tend to increase. Gradually, this leads to sickness and closure of the business. Global competition is a big threat to MSMEs. Apart from the problems stated above, MSMEs are not without fear, especially in the present context of globalization. These enterprises face competition not only from medium and large industries, but also from multinational companies, which are giants in terms of their size and business volume. So micro, small and medium enterprises have many characteristics which make them pivotal in accelerating economic growth. One is the flexibility, makes them best suited to the environment which is constantly changing. Second is the continuous innovative character of these enterprises. Since they are fairly labor intensive, MSMEs provide an economic solution by creating employment opportunities in urban and rural areas at a relatively low cost of capital investment. They contribute to a faster economic growth, which we have discussed in a traditional economy. And finally, MSMEs, they contribute to, as a result of their contributions to economic growth, they are mostly, because they are mostly set up by individuals, they provide an outlet for expression of the entrepreneurial spirit. Major benefits of MSMEs are as follows. Utilization of locally available human and material resources and expertise and experience. MSMEs create jobs at relatively low capital costs. Diversify the industrial structure, prevent the creation of monopolies, ensure more equitable income distribution, attract and utilize the indigenous entrepreneurship, nowadays especially encouraging women entrepreneurs, develop a pool of skilled, semi-skilled workers as a basis for future industrial expansion, improve forward and backward linkages, contracting regional imbalances, optimum opportunities for adapting appropriate technological and other resources. MSMEs have special features. They contribute to the GDP. They alleviate, they contribute to poverty alleviation, indigenization, use of labor-intensive techniques. They provide avenues for indigenous entrepreneurship. They help to tap savings. They help. They are the ones which make measure utilization of domestic technology, and they create a regional balance along with rural development. Now, how this regional balance happens and rural development happens as a result of entrepreneurial activities and MSMEs. In most developing countries, industries are highly concentrated at few places. As a result, regional imbalances are aggravated between the urban core and the peripheral areas, with the later remaining relatively underdeveloped. Urban and rural population, with the migration of the more vigorous elements of depleting the rural society and increasing urban unemployment happens. Major reasons within the nation leading to political tensions. Large and small industries contribute to these imbalances. But SSI generally has more locational flexibility. It requires less infrastructure, usually caters to a narrower geographic market. It is a relatively labor-intensive technology, which is appropriate for the low wages prevailing outside the metropolitan centers, while helping in some measure to raise these rates. Comparative studies suggest that the profitability of SSI is higher in medium-sized towns away from the metropolis. So the promotion of SSI development in outlying towns helps individual entrepreneurs as well as the society as a whole. A major problem in rural areas of developing countries is underemployment, especially in the slack agricultural seasons. Rural incomes are depressed and migration to the city increases. More non-farm jobs need to be created, and whether these are industrial jobs, they will generally be in the small scale sector because of infrastructure, market radius, and labor skill requirements. If we recognize that economic development is an uneven process that has distinct phases over time, 4 phases of development can be identified. One is agrarian or resource society. Second is early industrialization. Third is mature industrialization. Fourth is service and high technology economy. So this particular slide shows a conceptual model that shows the phases of development and the entrepreneurial strategy that needs to be followed. In an agrarian society, small business formation is the entrepreneurial strategy needs to be followed. Early industrialization, small business formation, and late imitation. For mature industrialization, increasing emphasis on early imitation. For service or high technology, early imitation and innovation is required. Now, successful enterprises, successful small enterprises do not emerge and thereafter survive and grow unless the environment is conducive. So political, economic, technological, and socio-cultural factors in the environment impinge upon the life of the small enterprises and generate much of the needs required for their existence. Conducive environment is one requirement. The overall political climate in a country is important for the small-scale entrepreneur to consider. Adequate credit assistance. Small enterprise development cannot be ensured without arrangement for financing. Adequate and timely supply of credit is critical for new entrepreneurs to emerge, especially from a wide base. Markets and marketing support. Market for a small enterprise in a developing country can be a problem, considering that the small entrepreneur will be in competition not only with locally mass-produced goods, but even imports. Acquisition, transfer, and adoption of technologies. Frequent problems are faced in acquiring appropriate technology, that which is best suited to the specific cultural, economic, social, and political climate found in a particular country where the small enterprises are situated. So, Government of India and Ministry of MSME have launched several unique government schemes and programs designed to empower MSMEs, like the Atmanirbhar Bharat Emergency Credit Line Guarantee Scheme, the Self-Reliant India Fund, the Credit Guarantee Trust Fund for Micro and Small Enterprises, the Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana, the National Manufacturing Competitiveness Program. These programs and schemes we have discussed in the earlier session. So 10 schemes that can be listed are the main components of the program. Marketing support assistance to MSMEs, support for entrepreneurial and managerial development of MSMEs, enabling manufacturing sector to be competitive through quality management standards and quality technology tools, national campaign for investment in intellectual property, national program on application of lean manufacturing, mini tool rooms proposed to be set up by Ministry of MSME, promotion of ICT in Indian manufacturing sector, technology and quality upgradation support for MSMEs, design clinic scheme to bring design expertise to the manufacturing sector, and finally, marketing assistance for MSMEs. Credit-linked capital subsidy for technology upgradation. Government is clearly aware that technology is the tool that can propel Indian startups and MSMEs to compete with global competitors. This is the reason for the creation of CLCSS, a government scheme wherein government provides financial help to MSMEs to upgrade their technology and implement state-of-the-art technological platforms for their business. The unit thus described the relevance and need for micro, small, and medium enterprises and their role in the economic development of the country. Government is there, plays a vital role. There are several factors that govern the pattern and rate of economic development in a country. One of the important inputs is provided by the quantum of and quality of entrepreneurship. Most of these entrepreneurs who owned and managed their enterprise in the early stages of development did so through plowing back of profits in the later stages of industrial development. Technological changes favored the growth of corporate enterprises. Being more labor intensive and less capital intensive than large enterprises, small scale enterprise in the Indian context seems to be an effective way to capitalize a country specific resource. So in today's session, we have just finished understanding the relevance and need for MSMEs and their role in the economic development of the country. Thank you.